Good morning, everybody. Good morning, July 11th. I should really start checking the day before we start these because I always have to double check what day of the week it is, what date it is. Thursday, July 11th. I'm Jesse Montaño. This is Guerilla Sports Daily. And guys, I keep saying it. We're supposed to be in the off season. There's not supposed to be a whole lot going on in the world of sports, but we've got Euro Cup, we've got Copa America, we've got the lead up to the Olympics. There's a lot happening right now. And the NHL keeps throwing us a bone by breaking some news every single day. A lot to talk about, a lot to get into, and some controversy in the world of soccer. One bit of the controversy has to do with fans, and it's the really, really ugly part of soccer that, you know, the more that I've gotten familiar with the game, and especially at the international level, it's something that I think is kind of this quiet, ugly part of the sport that I think can maybe sometimes be disguised as one of the best parts. So we're going to get into that. And then the most predictable controversy imaginable in Netherlands and England game. Wouldn't you know it, a ref who's been found guilty of match fixing before leaves a semifinal match with controversy surrounding the calls. We're going to get into that later. But we're going to kick things off. The Arizona Coyotes, it has been officially done. The rights to the team, the logos, the branding has officially been relinquished from Alex Morello and his ownership group back to the NHL. The process is over. It's done. We all knew it was over and done a couple weeks ago when the land auction fell through, when Alex Morello failed to mention to people that he was actually bidding on land that was zoned for a youth sports complex, not a multi-billion-dollar, multi-use NHL arena. We all knew that that was it for Alex Morello. He was relinquishing his 5-year agreement with the NHL to try to reactivate the Arizona Coyotes franchise. He had to hit the benchmark by the end of the NHL season calendar, which, if you guys remember, July 1 is the official tip over to the start of the new season. That's when new contracts kick in. That's when the calendar flips over officially. He had to have the land auction won by then. It was originally slated for June 26th. When that fell through, he knew that was it for him. He bowed out. But now it's transferred back to the NHL. Arizona has now moved likely to the very, very, very top of the NHL's list for expansion as the league continues to work towards 36 teams. I do just want to pause here real quick. I've had people ask me why the NHL is wanting to continue to expand so aggressively. When you look at the other leagues, NFL, NBA, MLB, they all sit at 32 teams. Now that the NHL is there, why would you want to continue to expand beyond that? The answer is simple. Of those 4 leagues that I just listed, the NHL has the fewest number of American-based teams by far. 7 Canadian-based teams in the NHL. That means there's 7 markets still up for grabs in the U.S. that maybe are filled in those other leagues that you don't see in the NHL. So that's one of the reasons why there's still massive room for growth. You could even make the argument Canada could still support one more team, possibly in Quebec City. If you ask me, there's some issues with the size of the cities in Canada and stuff like that, and that's maybe why we haven't seen more aggressive expansion on that side. But Arizona is likely going to be a market that the NHL is looking to get filled ASAP with a new ownership group, looking to get construction on a building started as soon as possible. But now that Alex Morello is out of the picture, you can finally start to do that. And look, I've been a big advocate before for Arizona as a hockey market and the fan base that's in Arizona. And it's a group that I really do think has been so massively underserved. You have to understand, to be a passionate hockey fan in Arizona means that you've really got to care about the sport and the team, because the ownership groups have done nothing to help grow that fan base, and then the management groups that have been put in place have done nothing but churn out and build losing team after losing team. They've tried to shortcut rebuilds, and I get it. They've had to do what they've had to do to try to put butts in seats. But this is an incredibly passionate fan base that I think just gets dunked on so unnecessarily and so unfairly I was talking to Leah Merrill, one of the outstanding media members in Arizona who was covering the Coyotes for the last handful of years. She works for PHNX. And, she was saying people make fun of Arizona Coyote fans, but she said, I actually think they are the most passionate fans in the NHL. And when you look at everything that those fans and that fan base has been put through over the last 30 years with nothing but failing ownership groups who haven't done their job and haven't done right by their fan base, haven't put their resources into building teams properly. But the fact they still show up and they still buy the merch and they still, make signs for the players and all of that, I think she's got a real argument for it. I want more than anything else to see a competent ownership group get in there and give that market a team that it deserves. You see what's happening in Tampa Bay. You see what's happening in Sunrise, Florida, in Vegas. It can be done. And again, I agree with what Leah told me. I think this is probably one of the most passionate fan bases in all of hockey, and they deserve to be treated that way. I hope with Alex Morello, who was maybe, of all the disastrous owners they had over the last 30 years, maybe the worst, maybe the most incompetent. I said it a minute ago. This man knew he was building on land that was zoned for a youth sports complex, not a multi-billion-dollar multi-use facility. And he still marched ahead thinking, I'll figure it out once I win the land. He knew he needed a special permit. At several turns, Alex Morello and his ownership group knew what they needed to do and intentionally went against it with a we'll figure it out later mentality. I think him getting out of the way is the best possible thing for the NHL in Arizona. I'm now anxious to see what Bill Daley, the NHL's deputy commissioner, and Gary Bettman, I don't know why I wanted to say Greg. Gary Bettman, the NHL's commissioner, I'm really curious to see what they're going to do. They have always defended this market wholeheartedly, saying NHL will work in the desert. I'm anxious to see what they do. That's a market that deserves a team, that deserves a new building, and I think the NHL is going to make that a top priority to get there. It's just too big of a market here in the U.S. to let it go empty, to completely miss on that for the NHL. I hope Arizona gets everything figured out here. Their fans deserve it. Briefly, moving over, we are just weeks away from the start of the 2024 Olympics in Paris. I'm very excited, again, partially because it's going to help what keeps us going here on Guerilla Sports Daily through the summer. But there was an exhibition game last night between the U.S. and Canada for basketball, and despite a little bit of trash talk from Canada, they could only muster up 72 points against the gold medal favorite U.S. LeBron James, Steph Curry, 86-72 is the final there. And again, everyone from both sides kind of downplayed it, saying it's exhibition. We're getting warmed up still. We're getting a feel. But U.S. is the heavy favorite to win the gold medal. Canada is looked at as one of those teams that, it would be a major upset, no doubt about it. You'd be talking about, maybe not quite on par with like the 1978, USSR over USA upset, but in basketball. But it's a Canadian team. You got Jamal Murray. Like, there's some good players on Canada's roster. They were, really starting to push the narrative of we think we can hang, we think we can beat this U.S. team. A little bit of a message sent last night, like I said, could only put up 72 points, and that was a lot of the conversation was, can the USA defend against the Canadians well enough to, again, bridge the gap? I don't know what I'm necessarily trying to say here, but can the U.S. defend well enough to defend, that's the word, I knew I'd find it, defend against, defend the, wow, and now I lost it again. Defend their title? Defend their favoritism? I don't know. The U.S. are the favorites. Can they pull through? That's what I'm trying to say here, folks. And they showed last night, yes, they can. They can defend well enough. Again, by only giving up 72 points. Bit of a message sent for the U.S. I kind of find basketball in the Olympics a little bit boring because it is so heavily dominated by the U.S. in the same way that I don't love the idea of flag football joining the Summer Olympics in 4 years. We were talking to Nate Jackson, former Denver Bronco, someone who works here at Guerilla Sports, and he was saying Canada will be okay at flag football. They'll be good, probably odds-on favorite for a silver medal. given the CFL rules are a little bit different, but more or less the same. Australia with rugby, he said that will be another team probably good at flag football. And then he said Germany. There was an NFL Euro League for a long time. He said there's a strong American football contingency in Europe or in Germany, but I don't know. I just think basketball, flag football, they're not really they're played around the world. There's Ruben talking about basketball. U.S. odds-on favorite after last night, probably a pretty safe bet. Don't know what the juice is on that yet on DraftKings or anything like that, but probably not even worth your money. So, looking forward to the build-up to that. We'll see if Canada can find a way to overcome the little brother syndrome come the Olympics, come the opening ceremonies. Moving over, soccer. I haven't really talked much about Copa America. Really, Jay kind of completely talked me off of it when it first started. He's like, yeah, this tournament, they can't make up their minds what they want to be. They're supposed to be every 4 years, but sometimes it's every 2 years, and sometimes they'll play it in back-to-back years, and this year it was 3. Copa America can't figure it out. It's obvious they're just trying to compete with the Euro Cup. But I do want to talk about it here because this is the ugly side of soccer, football, that I was talking about. I've gone to more hockey games in my life than I can count. And there are times where, we talk about the crowd because I do think, especially in the playoffs, NHL crowds are special. Being lucky enough to cover a Stanley Cup championship run a couple seasons ago and getting to go deep and be in those buildings for conference finals, Stanley Cup finals. There are games I'm getting chills right now just thinking about the atmosphere and the vibe and the noise, and it's amazing. And whenever you talk about that with soccer fans, everyone says, yeah. Even JJ, my Avalanche co-host, yeah, it's cool, but it's nothing like soccer fans. It's nothing like soccer fans and the passion and the way they are in the streets and the chanting, and 100%. It's amazing, and it's been one of the fun parts for me of these of Copa America and the Euro Cup going on right now. And I've mentioned it here a couple times. My wife and I have gotten very into the show, Welcome to Wrexham, on FX, and you get to see that passion, and I think it's great. The flip side of that not that people don't talk about it, but that I think people maybe kind of try to sweep under the rug or be like, that's the outlier, is the hooligan mentality of some soccer fans and the violence that can come along with that. I talked about it on this show a couple weeks ago that I had seen a tweet that said, hey, if you're a fan of such and such team, avoid this area. There's fans from the opponent ambushing visiting fans and physically attacking them. Well, last night, Uruguay and Colombia played in the semifinal of Copa America. Colombia won 1-0. Again, a semifinal match. The drama comes right down to the very end for a chance to go to the finals. Tensions are running high, emotions are running high. Well, as the game ends, what appears to be initially a scuffle breaking out in the stands. And, there's not totally uncommon for sporting events. But then as time moved on, as the cameras then began to swing and point at the players from Uruguay began to not only run over to where the brawl and the scuffle was going on, but actually began going into the stands themselves and engaging in physical violence. And again, at face value, you say, wow, sore losers, or what's going on here? This is, what a bad display of sportsmanship. But then as you do more research and you find out more and you listen to more interviews, Colombian fans were targeting and attacking Uruguay player families, wives, children, brothers, sisters, parents. So that is what led, Darwin Nunez is the one who's being primarily kind of picked out here, and I think we had him circled. If we could throw that back up, his wife and kids were being attacked. And so he went into the stands to defend them. And there's a video of him later holding his kid out on the field. But you can see him there. We had him circled, in the black, training top there, medical device. In no world, in no sporting event, in no arena is what was happening there okay. To me, Darwin Nunez was the most in the right of anybody in that video. It's really scary that you can't, as a family member of a soccer player, go to a game and support them. A game that they lost, by the way. So Colombian fans were attacking family members of Uruguay players purely because they were family members of Uruguay players. Not because they were mad they lost, not because something crazy controversial had happened or even anything had broken out. They were purely targeting them because of who they were. This has no place in sports. No place in. I don't care if you want to say that they're passionate, anything like that. This has no place in sports. Here's an interview from right after, and I'm so sorry I didn't get the name on who this player was, but this is a player from Uruguay who's doing an interview. You can even see him say in the interview, they may cut this off. They don't want us. They told us not to come talk to you guys about what just happened.
Es un desastre, esto es un desastre, nuestra familia está corriendo peligro. Tuvimos que meternos como pedo para arriba de la tribuna a sacar a nuestros seres queridos con bebés chiquitos recién nacidos. Un desastre todo, no había un solo policía, cayeron a la media hora. Un desastre, y nosotros ahí dando la cara por nosotros, por lo nuestro. Ojalá que los que están organizando esto tengan un poco más de cuidado con las familias, con la gente y con los alrededores de los estadios, que es todo un desastre porque todos los partidos pasa lo mismo.
I love sports so much because it's something that is unifying. It's something that when you go to support your team, or as Jay was telling us the other day, for something like this, you're going to support your nation. The team that is representing your country, I think it's so amazing because you have people of different religious backgrounds, different political views, different economic classes, but what's, to me, sports are supposed to be is an hour, 3 hours, or whatever, where everyone kind of puts that aside and you support your team and you're there to be passionate and cheer and cheer them on. And yes, passionate sports fans live and die by the results. It's amazing when you win. It's gut-wrenching when you lose. This is completely unacceptable. To me, if I was running Copa America, I would have disqualified the Colombian team. And I know that maybe sounds extreme, and maybe sounds like, being a little bit of a weenie, but that to me is how you send the message. We see it in the NHL. If fans are throwing stuff on the ice, they get one warning, and then the home team is penalized. 2 minutes for delay a game. If you can't get control of your fans throwing stuff on the ice, I don't see any difference here. If you can't control, because now all these Colombian fans are going to walk right back into that stadium for the final. And as we just saw in that interview there, it's going to be the exact same. There's going to be no security. There's going to be no police officers. None of that when they take on Argentina here in just a couple days. And I just don't see how that's acceptable, like I said, at any level, international, professional, youth. You'd never stand for that at a high school or a college game or something like that. And I just know it's going to get written off as passionate soccer fans, man. No one does it like soccer fans. And that's a joke to me. Absolutely sickening to see that from the Colombian fans. Like I said, if it was up to me, if I was a governing body overseeing Copa America, I would disqualify Colombia from the final and say that those are the consequences. If you can't get control of your fan base, those are the consequences. So I hope and pray that everyone came out of that all right. And look, I'm sure there were some Colombian fans who were caught in the middle of stuff too. And I hope everyone from both sides is safe and all right. Attacking family members, wives, children, brothers, sisters, moms, dads. There's no place for that anywhere in sports. Don't care what sport it is. Don't claim if you're being passionate or what. There's zero place for that anywhere in sports. And so, it's a shame. That was a semifinal match that ended 1-0 for a team to go to the finals, and I didn't talk once about the game. And that's what you get when you have behavior like that. Let's get on over to the Euro Cup, where there is some controversy, but it's on-field controversy. Start with the game coming up here on Saturday. Spain and England in the Euro Cup final. It feels like this tournament's been going on for like 3.5 years, but here we are at the final. Spain and England. Truthfully, thank goodness I didn't bet on any of these. France, we talked about it, I think on Monday when I was hosting. The odds-on favorite of the Final Four to win, as they were one of the most recent World Cup winners. Spain knocks them off 2-1 in a game that felt a little bit routine for Spain. They fall down 1-0. They scored 2 goals coming out of half and just kind of locked things down there. Not a lot exciting. Well, I mean, it was exciting, but nothing really out of the ordinary. There's similar to the way that Netherlands won their quarterfinal matchup against Turkey, where they were the only match of the round to not go to extra time. That was kind of how the game felt for Spain. They got control of it at 2-1, and they just kind of controlled things all the way till that full-time whistle, and give them huge credit. Like I said, I would not have picked them playing against France. When I talked to JJ, who is our resident Spain soccer expert, I said, how you feeling? I don't know. Spain does get through. Now, let's talk about England, Netherlands, because this is where the controversy comes from. Before we get into this, you guys remember on Monday, I talked about what an absolute joke it was that this man right here, Felix Zwayer, was officiating this game. Zwayer has been found guilty, yes, it was a little bit ago, of match fixing in the past. Not only that, he had had more recent run-ins with players from England. So, why are we talking about him once again? Well, golly jeepers, gee whiz, wouldn't you know it? An official who's been found of match fixing in the past has yet another controversial play that ends up in the Netherlands net. Not only a missed handball, not only 2 missed handballs, but then, look, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm this crazy soccer expert who's been watching every match since I was 5. But even I know what a loose ball that 2 players are competing for looks like relative to what a foul looks like. And a penalty kick was awarded for England on 2 players going for a loose ball that saw both players collide. Penalty kick was awarded, leading to an England goal, and that ended up being not necessarily the difference, that goal in particular, but in a 1-goal game, yes, a goal is the difference. Let's take a look here at the play. So here's the ball coming up. There's one handball right there, 7 in white. There's one, comes across. There's 2. You can see the hand move on both of them. And then this right here. I dare someone to tell me that's not 2 players just going for a loose ball. Again, I'm not going to act like let's run that one more time. I'm not going to act like I've watched every soccer match in this tournament and I've grown up on this. But look, clear handball. A little bit harder to see, but you can see the thumb move right there. And then that's a loose ball in the air that 2 players go for, and a penalty kick is awarded to 9 in white, who makes good on it. And again, you're talking about a 1-goal game, a semifinal match. There's been a lot of chatter on Twitter about the fact that was not a penalty. You even have longtime English players mentioning that's never a penalty. Players who have played for the English national team, played in Liverpool. That's not a penalty. And in a game of this caliber, and what this goes back to for me is what we talked about on Monday. When you allow a ref that has been found guilty of match fixing in the past, you 100% open yourself up to conversations like this. Any penalty, any call that is borderline is now going to be dissected over and over and over again, because you have a ref who not only has a reputation for controversial calls, missing things, calling things in one team's favor, Not only does he have a reputation, he's been found guilty of it. Like, it's confirmed that he does it. And to me, look, England wins the game 2-1. They score the match-winning goal in the 91st minute. For those of you keeping track at home, soccer games are 90 minutes, then they add on injury time there at the end. The game ended up going for 5 extra minutes. So they scored with 4 minutes left, essentially. But they score in the 91st minute, and it's heartbreaking. And who knows? That not being called a penalty and that not being a penalty kick in no way guarantees that the Netherlands wins that game. But when you look back on it the next day, it's really hard not to, in a 1-goal result, do not point to a highly controversial call that directly led to a goal. You open yourself up to this. I talked about it, UEFA, the governing body that oversees the Euro Cup. The fact that they let Zwayer be an official, to me, is an absolute joke. I'm not saying that it's a joke of a result or a joke of a call or whatever, but when you have him officiating a match, what do you expect? Of course people are going to look at it and say, well, yeah, that was a bad call. Look who you've got officiating. It goes so hand in hand that you open yourself up to it. And now it really does feel like there's a stain on that win for England. Now, I'm sure if you talk to the players and their fans, none of them would think that. They all feel great about it. It went exactly to plan. But if the shoe were on the other foot, you would be willing to bet that they would be saying, and again, that's the point of the tweet that we pulled up. You have English fans who even agree. That probably shouldn't have been a call. Real sports fans are able to say, I know it was my team who benefited from it, but we're not going to look a gift horse in the mouth, but that was a gift, no doubt about it. And I think that's what you got, and you're allowing these types of conversations to take place when you have someone like Zwayer who is allowed to officiate matches of that caliber. In general, forget of that caliber. In general, you would never see any of the other leagues. Imagine, and this is the problem, and this is the problem with it. If you had money on that, if you had money on like an England under, a Netherlands to advance, and now you're sitting here saying like, well, gosh, how much did that official impact the result of my parlay, my bet slip, my whatever? And that's just the type of stuff that it's why the major 4 North American leagues work so hard for, again, I mentioned the Tim Peel situation in the NHL. He got caught on a hot mic saying, hey, I'll get you a call back. Something that happens at every level of hockey. He got caught on the hot mic and the NHL said, we can't have anyone out there suspecting our games aren't 100% legit. So they got rid of him. There's an entire documentary on Netflix about NBA officials who have gotten caught up in this. These leagues work hard to protect the integrity of their game because there's millions or billions of dollars at stake with corporate sponsorships, gambling money, et cetera, and for them to allow an official like this to be in a match like this, we all knew. I could have told you yesterday before the game started that no matter who won, it was going to end with a controversial call one way or the other. So I'm anxious for the final. We've really been following it here pretty closely at Guerilla, and it's been fun. It has been fun to follow and to watch, but I'm anxious for the conclusion. But geez Louise, it does just feel like, how can you not feel for Netherlands? How can you not feel for their fans to look back on that? And especially with how much review there is in soccer, like they look at everything and they still come out with it getting it wrong. Yeah, not great. You feel for them. You feel for the fans. And now I guess all you can do if you're a Netherlands fan is root for Spain on Saturday. That's going to do it, I think. I think that's all we got for Thursday. We'll be back tomorrow, Friday morning to round out the week. Tomorrow's Friday, right? Friday morning to round out the week. And we'll preview what's ahead for the weekend. We're just a few weeks away from NFL camps officially opening, opening ceremonies of the Olympics. It is a fun summer. Usually summers, you kind of fall into the doldrums of it. But we're going to have these couple Copa America, Euro Cup take us pretty much right up to the start of those other things. And like I said, the NHL, all eyes shift to them with the Arizona Coyotes, rights of that franchise, the logos, the arenas, all that stuff going back to the NHL. That will be a story to keep an eye on here over the next few weeks, I think, as that will probably heat up on the NHL side. So we'll keep you guys locked in there as well. We got Jay running the board today, as always, making sure that I am up to speed and educated on everything soccer. And we got Chloe hanging out today as well, getting everything started for us, as she is one of the newest members of the Guerilla fam. I'm Jesse Montaño. Thank you guys so much. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow morning. Have a great day. Get outside. Enjoy it. It's supposed to be nice out there. Thanks so much, guys. We'll talk to you tomorrow.